And we're live. Good afternoon, good morning, or good evening from wherever you're tuning in around the world. It's Monday, it's the 9th of September 2019, and we are joined today with Clayton Wood, and apologies if I pronounce this incorrectly, Gaetano Dinardi. If you guys just want to introduce yourselves, and then we'll take it from there.
Sure. Hey, I'm Clayton, and I'm in Los Angeles. We were just talking about this before we went live. Welcome, everybody, to today's webinar. Gaetano, where are you at? You have a New York hat on, so I'm assuming it's somewhere there.
Yeah, I'm originally from New York. I'm here visiting my old stomping grounds, but relocated to Miami, Florida for weather purposes not too long ago. But yeah, New York City, born and raised, and I love it. So go Yankees, go New York.
Excellent. Yep. So just to jump in, I'm your host, Tristan Jarman from Purple Smudge, joining you here today, and we'll be going through the lovely presentation put together by Clayton Wood on how to uncover not provided data and translate it into actionable website optimization. Clayton, do you just want to give us a little brief intro on what you're doing today?
Yeah, so welcome everybody. I'm really excited to be here. Semrush is the best platform out there. They are not paying me to say that. I wish they were, but
maybe they will in the future.
I'm thrilled to be a part of this webinar. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about some of the data that's difficult to find in Google Analytics and what to do with it. This is the first of a two-part series. So today, part one, September 9th. Part two is on September 26th. At 10 a.m. California time, so Pacific Daylight Time. That's September 26th at 10 a.m. That's part two. And in part two, we're going to go one step further and talk a little bit about the best dashboards in Google Analytics and in Semrush for uncovering customer behavior on your website. As everybody knows, what people do on your website is growing in importance in the Google algorithm. So bounce rate, time on site, where do they go, how to track that. These are, in many cases, difficult to see and can sort of make you think that it's a black box, but it's not. One of the reasons that we've got these folks here with us today is because they are practitioners and very good at locating Google Analytics. Tristan is awesome at dashboards. Gaetano is out there every day trying to help sales funnels be promoted by SEM and SEO. So when we get done with the presentation today, we're going to spend 20 or 30 minutes doing Q&A. Tristan, maybe you want to talk a little bit about how they can answer questions or ask questions.
Yeah, sure. So follow the hashtag SEMrushLive on Twitter. Drop any questions in there that you want. Also, if you're watching live on YouTube, don't forget to pop your questions into the message box there. We will try to get through as many as possible. It's difficult. There are always a lot of questions, so get them in early, get them in quick. We'll get them answered as quick as we can for you. Shortly in a second, we'll be jumping into Clayton's presentation. And as Clayton said, it's roughly about 20 minutes. And after that, we'll be going through all your questions, we'll be answering everything that you need to get answered. Just before we start, if everyone could just put into the message box where you're watching us from today, because that would be awesome just to understand what sort of audience we've got. That'd be excellent. So I think we're about ready to get going if you want, Clayton.
Sure. You know, maybe we should tell them a little bit about the Global Marketing Day also.
Yeah, why not? So I'll just intro that. So there will be coming up shortly the 24-hour conference based across the world. And I think you might be one of the hosts for that.
I'm mentioning it. Yeah, we've got an incredible live, right? 24-hour conference that Semrush is doing. And it is the 29th and 30th of October. Where do you know the locations? I know I'll be in San Francisco, Tristan.
San Francisco. I should know this off the top of my head. I know Ross Tavendale will be hosting it in London. I'll find out whilst we're doing the presentation where the other two are being held. Locations.
New York. So all the time zones are covered. I guess
Excellent.
the Australians or Pacific Rim folks will see it first, and then it'll move to California, New York, and London. And this is going to be great. I will be one of the hosts, but I'll be one of the 4 or 5 different hosts, and I'll be in a studio. And we're wanting to have it we're wanting to make it this very live, on-air sort of feel. So if you are wanting to participate, we'll drop some of the links for the Global Marketing Day 2019 in the chat, and we'd love for you to have us.
I think that's just gone live in the chat box now, I can see. So yeah, get your registrations in, guys. And don't forget, I think there's going to be about 50 speakers over a 24-hour period in 4 cities, and it's expected to be about 40,000 plus attendees. So you don't want to be missing out on this one, guys. Excellent.
Yeah, it's awesome.
This is going to be great. Okay, so anything else, or should I get going?
I think let's jump into it.
Okay, sounds good. Let me just share my screen and run through this. And then if you guys have questions, ask away. We will handle a lot of those towards the end, and we'll just take it from there. And then Tristan or Gaetano, if you guys need to interrupt me, feel free. I'm going to do this for about 15 minutes and hopefully bring some context to what we're talking about today.
Excellent.
So, okay, today we're going to talk a little bit about uncovering the not provided data in Google Analytics and how to translate that into actionable website data. Again, my name is Clayton Wood. I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but I will say that I've been doing SEO for quite a long time, over 10 years. I've been fortunate enough to have some success and be a part of a couple of founding member teams of agencies that have done tons of projects. So I've seen a lot, and things change very quickly over the years, as I'm sure you know. And for me, my biggest point that I want to make and my commitment to you is to help you learn. I want you to go away learning something. I am a big advocate of open source and information sharing. So if I know anything that I can help you with, you can always ask me, you can reach out to me, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys have. So I hope you learned something here. The title is that not provided data is difficult to find and difficult to know what to do with. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. Semrush helps us know what actionable website things that we can do with that data. But Google Analytics and Google Search Console tell us what that data is. All right. One thing before we get going is I do 5 or 6 different keynote speeches every year. And this year I put together a deck that I'm going to be doing in December at the Growth Marketing Conference. And it's an advanced SEO monetization deck. If you want that deck, or you're advanced in this and you know about all of this stuff and you want to take it a couple of steps forward, I'm going to have a link at the end of my presentation where you can download the advanced SEO monetization strategies. This is important because 2019 changed with a lot of the ranking signals that Google has. And I talk a lot about what I've seen from running so many marketing campaigns this year. So look out for that at the end of this. All right, there's 3 parts to this. Number 1, where's the data? Number 2, how do you read it? And number 3, what actionable SEO tactics can you take away from this data? The interesting part about SEO and ranking in Google, and I'm sure you know this, is that with one small tweak, it could be the thing that changes how Google views where you rank. The way that I look at SEO is sort of, if everything is not optimized as well as it could be, then there might be something holding you down in those rankings. You can do a lot of great stuff right, but if you mess up on 1 or 2 small things, you might not be getting all the traffic that you could. So it's not that there's like this silver bullet or anything. It's just that you've got to check every single piece of the SEO and make sure that it's optimized as much as you can. The pro tip to this is that we can show you where to find this data, but you've got to do something with it. And uncovering the data is only the first part. You've got to optimize it to drive traffic. So there's a whole huge part of this that we're not going to cover today that you've got to go out and do your homework. Come to our part 2 on September 26th, and then we'll go further into how to monetize and how to optimize. So that's the pro tip for today. All right, what is the not provided data? Not provided data is in Google Analytics. You can see right there on your left-hand side of your screen where 96% of the traffic to this particular website just says not provided or not set. It's a black box, if you will, of data where prior to a change that happened in Google years ago, Google Analytics showed a list of all of the keywords that were responsible for driving traffic to your website, which page they clicked on, and that allowed webmasters and SEOs all over the world to properly understand which keywords were the most valuable, where should I put more of my effort in creating content, and properly move the needle on the right keyword. A couple of years ago, that started to change. And if we want to get technical about it, you can look it up on Google, but Google started to use the HTTPS protocol and stopped showing what search term that people were using. So over the course of a couple of years, you went from looking in your Google Analytics to seeing a big list of individual keywords to slowly seeing more in that not provided column. And what it did was it really blinded a lot of SEOs. Now we know that we are driving traffic to pages. We know that we're driving traffic to content, but in Google Analytics, it stopped showing what the most effective keywords were to drive traffic. And that really became, for a lot of intermediate and beginners, like shooting in the dark and not knowing what's being effective and what's not. Over the years, there has been a couple of ways that you can show that data, and we're going to show you a couple of those today. Before I show you that, I'd love to sort of position this properly by asking, how important is the data? The obvious answer is it's very important. But as we do this, I'd love to know, if I could get from the audience, I'd love to know how many years you've been in SEO or SEM. If you want to just put it in the chat, I'd love to find out how many people are beginners, how many people are intermediate, or how many people have been doing SEO for over a decade, let's say. So as I talk through this slide, tell us how many years you've been in the SEO industry. All right, so how important is the data? It's very important. On the slide that I'm showing you now, if you can imagine 1 through 5 not being blurred out and showing us the exact keyword that are driving most of your traffic, in this case, 42% of the traffic is driven by one keyword. Now, if we knew what that keyword was, you can only imagine how important ranking for that particular keyword was. And when we do this, we can see brand keywords, we can see non-branded keywords. You can see that for this particular company, number 6 and number 9 are non-branded keywords that are driving traffic. This allows us to specifically target and work on and add content around keywords that we know are valuable for our SEO. So that's how important it is. It could change everything about what your SEO strategy is. Now, where do we find this data? The data is actually inside of Google Search Console. A lot of it is. Inside of Google Search Console, I want to make sure that everybody knows how to get to this data. So there are 3 areas that you need to click on. On the left side nav in your Google Search Console, click on Performance, and then click on Queries, and then look at the clicks and impressions. And this will show you specifically how many people are searching for these phrases and how many times Google showed your website in Google search results for those phrases. Now, the wild thing is that Google Search Console is a separate platform. And it was very easy to look at all of this search data in Google Analytics. And this is really where we want to figure out if we can pipe over that data into Google Analytics so that you can specifically see in one view what's driving traffic. And there are 2 points about this slide that I want to make. The first one is this is a great source of knowledge on what to optimize for inside of Google Search Console. This list of keywords, if you look at ones that have very low impressions, which means they're not showing up in Google very much, but are extremely relevant to your product or your service or a buyer type of keyword, then that's a really great list of keywords that you should be optimizing. So remember that, low impressions, but highly relevant. That's a short list of keywords that could be gold for you. Go and add those to your keyword strategy and to your content strategy, and you'll see that the impressions and the clicks will go up. The second point is that this is where Google shows which keywords go to which pages. It's a really smart system to track and build a view inside of Google Analytics, because if we know the keywords and we know what pages they're going to, we can estimate what sessions they came in on. And that's basically what we're going to do here. How to transport this into Google Analytics. So you take this not provided section on the left-hand side, 93% not provided, and we're able with filters and views in Google Analytics to put this into a view that shows you specifically which keywords are driving traffic. Now, there's a couple of tools out there that do this. My favorite one is Keyword Hero. You can also do it on your own if you want, or you can ask me for help, and I'm happy to help you do this as well. The way that it looks when it shows up in Google Analytics, it's in a different view. So if you're a Google Analytics expert, you know that you can build all sorts of views and filters for specific property inside of Google Analytics. And this one is specific because this is the one that shows directly from Google Search Console where that data lives and shows up inside of Google Analytics. And here's what it looks like. Now, the thing I want to say about this slide is that it's not 100% accurate. It is just an estimate. But what it does show you is specifically which keywords are the heavy hitters, which keywords are driving traffic, and which keywords just fall flat. And this is valuable because if we know that, let's say, 44% of the keywords or 44% of the traffic is driven by one keyword, then we really want to rank for that keyword. Now, if you type a couple of these keywords in, you can probably find out what brand this is from, but I've blurred out the branded keywords because this is one of the folks that I work with. But the number one keyword, the 44% one, is a brand. And that's really important for them to know that all of the brand type of advertising that they're doing is very, very effective. So this allows us to say, okay, we don't need to spend so much money on non-branded keywords and maybe move some of that money into branded keywords since that leads most of their traffic. So extremely valuable data for just a little bit of work uncovering a bunch of the keywords. Now, what do you do with all this data? Okay. The formula that I use for estimating traffic, and there's a number of them, you can do it multiple ways. If you go out there and look on Google at how much traffic the first, second, third, and so on result get, you'll find data like this. The first organic result typically gets research estimates 21% of the clicks. So if there are 10,000 monthly searches for a particular term and you're ranked number one, you'll get 21% of, or you're possible to get 21% of the clicks from that 10,000 monthly searches. Number two is 13% of that. So you just take the amount of search volume and then take the percentage of whatever you're ranked at. And that's how you can guesstimate search traffic or what the opportunity is. Now, things have changed over the past couple of years, because gone are the days that the first search result just gets the lion's share of the traffic. Google has actually widened the gap between the top ranked page and everybody below it through rich snippets. And you've seen stuff like this all over the place. And from all of the studies that people have been doing on Search Engine Journal, the Semrush blog has a lot about this. It's only getting more and more different. So these rich snippets are showing up with more real estate in the top of the search results. This one, how to hire an employee, is a great example of, look how big the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the link, and then the title tag takes. Look how big the real estate is around that. And this is just one type of snippet. What that means is that if you're ranked number 1, you might get a lot more than 21%. And if you're not ranked number 1, you might get a lot less. People have really started seeing that if Google's good at finding the answers, that they'll send their traffic that way. So it's becoming even more important to rank number 1, as I'm sure you all know. And rich snippets come in a bunch of different varieties. So let's talk about that for a little bit. By the way, in the advanced SEO roadmap at the end that I'm going to share, there's a whole section on snippet optimization. So if you want to learn a little bit about how to include rich snippets, or maybe how to increase your chances of getting those rich snippets, download the roadmap that I've got at the end, and maybe that will provide some context from you or for you. I just was in a conference in Vancouver where the VP of marketing at HubSpot talked about how the HubSpot traffic was going up and up and up, and then planed and just started staying the same, and they couldn't figure out what it was. And she eventually learned, long story short, that it was because of rich snippets. And originally they thought, oh no, Google is going to take the traffic and nobody's going to click on our website because they show the data right there in the search. And when they started learning how to optimize for rich snippets and conquered it, their traffic started to continue to climb. And it's all about the format of your content, the code. Are you using data highlighter in Google Search Console? We'll talk a little bit about that in a minute, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, so I want to include and dig into something that I was talking a little bit about earlier: actionable SEO tactics. These are on the advanced side. I'm really wanting to try and cover the gamut for everyone here. These are probably for people that have a large content library already built out and might have a strong understanding of SEO. And inside of Google Search Console, if you go to the queries section and look at clicks and impressions and sort the impressions by lowest to highest. So in this case, what we're looking for is low impressions. We're looking for diamonds in the rough. If you go to the stuff that the keywords that you're barely showing up for, Google, for whatever reason, doesn't really show you in search. They've only showed you 9 or 10 times or 20 times, but that are highly relevant. This is what I was talking about earlier. These are real golden opportunities. If Google, for some reason, has only shown you 10 times for cold brew gummy bears, which is a coffee candy product, and you have this product, if it's a highly relevant thing to your website and you're barely getting any impressions, that tells you that you should be talking, blogging, maybe doing some AdWords about this term in this exact format. And if you do that, you're going to start seeing the impressions go up. Same for candy apple at the bottom, same for marshmallow cereal chocolate bar. If you've got, in this case, this brand has these products and they're barely showing up for them. So this allows us to add these into our SEM project to drive traffic, to signal to Google that these are important. It allows us to possibly rethink our internal link strategy with these keywords from these page. It also allows us to infuse our content strategy with these topics and these keywords. And if you do those things, you'll start to see the impressions grow. And more importantly, you'll start to see the clicks grow. This is one of the best things that I've helped on a monthly basis with anybody that I work with. I do consulting for some interesting startup projects in Silicon Valley and in Los Angeles. And that's my job. I am a practitioner that goes in and tries to help increase traffic, increase impressions through some of these things that not everyday person might know about. Over the last 10 years, I've learned some stuff, and this is one of the great areas that I think is very valuable.
Dude, some of those keywords are hilarious. If you could go back to that just for a second. I mean, pink chocolate sparkling rose bears.
You know what's crazy is they probably sell $3 million worth of those.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's what I was gonna say. You know, as long tail and specific as these are, you got to believe that someone searching for that is looking to buy now.
Exactly. That's exactly it. And the competition for this stuff in this case is minimal. So if the competition is almost nowhere and it's very specific and you're barely showing up for this, what a missed opportunity. It's
totally
huge.
Yep.
Totally. And I'd focus on those ahead of, say, Candy Apple. I'm sure Candy Apple is going to have mixed intents and stuff. People looking for recipes and things like that.
Yep, exactly. And in this case, their candy apple is not an apple with candy on it. It's like a gummy that's just flavored candy apple. So you're right. Mixed intent could really throw some wrenches into it.
Yeah.
And this is just one page that I could fit on a slide deck. You know, there's
hundreds.
Yeah, there's 15 pages of stuff like this.
Yeah.
So this is a really great sort of trick to see where the opportunity is instead of just guessing in the dark. The next one that I wanted to cover, and we're almost done here, is there's a tool, and I don't know if it's actually, the guys from Semrush could tell us if it's not used a lot or one of their more used tools. I'm not sure, but in my sort of small social circle, you guys tell me, Giatano, Tristan, at least from my opinion, I don't think people are using this or see the value in it like it actually is, because the SEO content template inside of Semrush is genius for having writers go in and actually look in an analytical way at their content and ask themselves, is this better than the competition? Is it worse? Is it long enough? Are the keywords there? Et cetera, et cetera. There's a tool in Semrush called this SEO content template where you can check the content and it will give you a score for the readability, for the words, for the target keywords. It's awesome. I've got so my role in projects is strategy and execution, but I'm not a content writer. But a lot of times I'll work alongside with a content writer. Anytime I do that, I've got them using this tool because it's great. So this is my second one for the day, that actionable things that you can take away is take all of the content on your blog, or if you don't have the time, take the new stuff that you're doing and write it and use this SEO content template to test and see if you're doing as good as you should be.
Yeah, that's the thing about Semrush. It's got so many hidden gems.
Yeah.
You gotta know where to look. But I mean, if I had to guess, and I use this as well, but if I had to guess, they're using that readability score probably with some kind of Flesh Kincaid readability tool, and then maybe using like the Google natural language processing APIs to kind of put some of this stuff together. But I mean, you know, you should never be going into your content production without something that assesses, you know, how readable is this, how on par am I with the keyword that I'm looking to hit, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a great additional benefit to Semrush if you're already a customer.
Absolutely. So take those hidden gem keywords that we just talked about, and when you go to write content about them, do it here or check it here and see what they say. the interesting thing about this is an actual piece of content on a project that I'm working on, and it looks like we need to increase the overall score. I just stuck it in here for this slide. I did not see if it was optimized. Real world stuff here. And then Schema, the rich snippet. This is
just a quick one before you go into that. On the content writing template that you just looked at there, just so everyone knows, there's actually an add-on in Google Docs as well.
Right.
So you don't necessarily have to actually be in Semrush to use it. You can add the add-on and starts working like that. So that's kind of great if you've got like a team that, you know, can't all be using Semrush at the same time. So yeah, just another little tip.
Yeah, that's nice.
That's right. It is it's a browser plugin for Google Docs, right? Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, it's a nice one.
Yeah.
The last one, and you can almost not be on a webinar today without talking about Schema. Everybody talks about it, and it's because it takes up so much real estate on the first page. This is really where the folks that want to take their drive traffic from organic search, take it from medium to really performing well, this is where they focus. Again, that HubSpot VP of marketing that did an entire hour diving into how to rank with Schema and how to get those very coveted snippet boxes in search. Semrush really provides an easy way to show you which keywords are available. If somebody has a schema or a snippet, you can click on that box right in the ranking module, in the position tracking module, and you can see if there's an opportunity to add schema. And then what's really cool is if you've got a WordPress website, which is probably a lot of you, if you've updated if your WordPress version is updated to the new Gutenberg edition, if you are a webmaster and you know WordPress, then you know what I'm talking about. Inside of the new Gutenberg WordPress Yoast version, there is an option to actually just click on the FAQ option in it and start writing questions and answers, and the Yoast plugin will code it and add schema just immediately while you write it. So this is really great for an FAQ page, for a blog page, and it's extremely simple to do. I've got the steps to do it. They're also widely publicized. Yoast gives an in-depth guide on how to do it. But basically, it's you have to have the new version of Gutenberg WordPress. You have to have an updated Yoast. And then you just open the WordPress block editor, which is what you see here. If you're adding an FAQ to the page, you can just do it with these options right here. And then, you do the question, you do the answer, it's coded as schema, and then you can just check the snippet with the Google Structured Data Testing tool. There's a tool that lets you check on the page if your content is coded with schema. It's called the Google Structured Data Testing tool. So check what you're doing after you've published it and just make sure that it's coded correctly. And then just publish. This is a really great way for anybody that's just got a run-of-the-mill corporate website that doesn't do, step-by-step guides or recipes or formulas. If you don't have any of that stuff, you can still get rich snippets. One of the easiest ones to do is FAQ snippets. It's question and answer. I did a workshop in Milan in June, and it was all about how to optimize for voice search. And one of the stats that I found while preparing for that was that voice search has grown over 150% in 2018, from 2017 to 2018. This is incredible. And so what you see a lot of people doing quite successfully is optimizing their content, especially in blogs and FAQs, in a format that asks a question and then answers the question in a short, concise format. This tool in Yoast and WordPress is a very easy way for anybody to take advantage of that. This is what it looks like, by the way. I showed one of these earlier, but this, again, is another great example of just what are the best contact brands, and then this massive list for contactsdirect.com. These guys, I'm sure, know exactly what I'm talking about when I say optimize for schema, because look, and it's not even a new one. They'll still show older results over newer ones if they're formatted in a way that answers that question. So there's a lot of movement, a lot of things changing right now. What do you guys think? Tristan, Giotano, are you seeing all this movement and all of these snippets coming all over the place?
Yeah, all the time. And it's that interesting thing with rich snippets where there's a huge use for it. I kind of always have the question though, where because you're seeing it, you might not necessarily click through to the website. So you want to be at that position 0, but there's still that sort of transition of, is it definitely worth it for you to do? If you're with me.
I mean, here's my take on it. In many cases, a lot of these subjects are far too complex to solve just by looking at the snippet. You'll see some of the things that you need, but not everything. So what that does is actually qualify the people who really want to consume that content. It's going to save you from people who don't really want to consume the whole thing, that are just going to bounce quick. So the people who are going to consume that content are going to be there for a while and actually are the right people who you want, clicking in and staying there. Secondly, I would say that it's a form of brand advertising. So this is a way to, if you're one of those brands that are fighting an uphill battle against some giants in the industry, like, for example, my company, Nextiva, we're up against like Vonage and Ring Central and Zendesk, right? These are all like really well-known brands that have they're publicly traded, millions and millions of dollars of spend. The best way that we can fight back against the brand popularity problem we face is by getting as many snippets as possible, because we're getting free traffic or free visibility in the SERPs by just optimizing for snippets. So that's my take on it.
With the candy company that I gave a few examples of, it was a big decision whether to invest in going after all of these snippets. So what I did about 3 months into it was looked at when we got the snippet for which keywords and which pages, and then tried to judge on what date or week we got those, and then did a deep dive into Google Analytics traffic to that page. Did the traffic slow down? Did it pick up? Like, I'm trying to find out, are people clicking through to the snippet? Exactly what you were asking, Tristan. The traffic was going up, actually. So I think Giotano's onto something, but it might be yet to be seen. We'll find out. The last thing, and then we can go, because I'm sure we've got some good questions, is if you're not using this particular thing in Semrush, you're really missing out. This is the on-page SEO checker, where if you want to rank above your competition, the only way to do it is to completely reverse engineer all of their SEO, whoever's ranked on the first page, and try and find out how can you do better. Doing that manually would be painstaking, going down for the top 10 positions and finding out how many links do they have, how many words, what do the words say, do they use video, do they have structured schema on the page, are there markups, all of that stuff. There's a tool called the on-page SEO checker that just does this for you with all of your keywords. The example that you're looking at is an email marketing software. So A/B testing or autoresponder are very critical keywords for them. They're an email marketing software that does A/B testing and obviously has autoresponders. And what you can see is in red, let's take A/B testing. You can see very clearly our page versus the top 10 pages. We don't have enough content on the page. We also have 6 links, and the top 10 average page has 132. This really gives you a roadmap to tell exactly what you need to be doing on a particular page to rank at the top of the heap, if you will. So on-page SEO checker, if you're not using this or you don't know about it, get into it. It's inside of Semrush, and this is probably the best tool. The roadmap for the advanced monetization. I did this on a personal brand, and it increased the lead funnel by 50%. Excuse me, the organic traffic by 50%. So it's bit.ly/advanced SEO 2019. If you want to look at the advanced stuff, download that. And that's it for me. You want to spend the rest of the time talking about questions?
Yeah, sure. Oh, well, firstly, thank you, Clayton, for that presentation. We've had a huge number of questions come in. Sort of a reoccurring question we've had is, could we, if we've got time, just go a little bit more in depth in how to uncover the not provided data? Because there's a few people, I think there's been a lot of interest in that, people asking for blog posts or something like that. But I don't know if just with this short time we've got, whether you can just explain a little bit further on how people can actually just connect those two and go off and start exploring that data.
Yeah, let me get into it. So there's three really main ways that you can take the data to from the Google Search Console inside of the traffic and the impressions. Basically, you're taking it and matching it to the pages inside of Google Analytics. Google Analytics does allow you to look at what traffic is coming to what pages. And also Google Search Console shows you which pages are going to which traffic. It's just that Google Search Console also includes the keywords. So if you want to see the exact filters and by sessions and filters by page that I'm using in Google Analytics, email me and I'll send you a couple of screenshots of what I'm doing to use it. But it's inside of Google Analytics filters, and basically you're just trying to match the page from Google Search Console to the pages in Google Analytics.
Ah, sorry, Clayton, could you also stop sharing your screen if you could?
Sure.
That would be awesome.
Hang on.
I was so transfixed that I got lost. Wicked. So let's just jump into a couple more questions that we've got. What have we got here? So what are your thoughts? How does the content template compare to Yoast and Yoast Premium, if you've used both of them, that is?
I have. The content template is way better. There's no match for it. The Semrush tool is way more in depth. They not only will judge sort of your keyword density, but they also have the Flesch Kincaid score baked into the readability, like Giatano was saying. I don't think Yoast has that. I think Yoast just judges how many times you use the keywords, and that's it. So
yeah, I think Yoast can lead you down a bit of a slippery slope in some cases. Like, for example, they don't know how to look at variants of keywords. So what it could lead to an inexperienced SEO doing is over optimizing, because they're trying to hit those green lights checklist on Yoast, and it could lead to some problems. I've seen that in the past. So I also too would recommend the Semrush content template as well.
Wicked. Well, I third that, in fact. Just another question that's come in. So how do you overcome the known inaccuracy in click and impression data in Google Search Console? I've been digging heavily into Google Search Console data, and I strongly believe that the data is problematic. What are your thoughts, guys?
Where in Google Analytics or Google Search Console?
Well, saying that there's inaccuracies in the click and impression data in Google Search Console.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm sure there is. Giatano?
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to say that it depends on the more expanded your date range is, the more sampled that data becomes. So try to shorten your date ranges as a start. But at the end of the day, we all know there's inaccuracies in this stuff. So you're looking for directional, sort of trends, right?
Yeah.
And then you want to cross-reference that with a tool like Semrush to really validate. But at the end of the day, it's like we know we're never going to get perfect data. We're looking for kind of a directional sort of trend, and then cross-reference that with tools like Semrush to get the answers we need. I don't know if Clayton, you have anything else to?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just my little part on that, it's remembering that, as frustrating as it is every time I say this to people, they're both free tools. So you've got to expect it's not going to be perfect. So
Yeah,
that's probably not what people wanted to hear. But
yeah. I mean, Google's goal is to give you just little, teasers, and then, they're trying to maximize, your AdWords usage at the end of the day. So
Of course, they call everybody.
there you go.
excellent.
Next, call you, try and ask them why the data is inaccurate in Google Search Console.
I would love the answer to that myself.
And so just another question we've got coming, Clayton, from the process that you've outlined for us. Can you see conversion rates by keywords?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Yeah. Because the keyword is attached to the page, and if you've got your goals properly set up and dollar values assigned to them, then yeah, you can.
Yeah. In short, you can't get to the keyword though without knowing the page.
Correct.
Yes.
Exactly.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
And just a bit more of a generalist question. Is it true Google's sending more paid traffic than organic traffic now than previous years?
Yeah.
We could probably all chime at the same time.
Yeah, I think they are. I saw a big, I think, and if there's any Search Engine Journal employees here, maybe they can sound off on this or tell me I'm wrong. But as far as I can see it, Search Engine Journal has really been pounding this point. I've seen multiple articles about people doing studies and published on searchenginejournal.com that say, yes, Google's sending more paid traffic than they were in years past. So, I mean, I believe it.
Yeah, they actually disclosed this information in their recent Q2 earnings report.
Oh,
so this is in fact true. In fact, I shared this data at my talk at HubSpot's Inbound conference last week. So
Austin, nice.
Yep. So it is true.
And so that, I guess, that nicely leads on to sort of why you should be looking at schema markups so much, just to push those little points. Because in my opinion, Google wants you to buy more from them, more ad space, etc. So we've just got to be, as SEOs and digital marketers, a bit more sensible, savvy into sort of getting those positions, all those opportunities that are laid in front of us. So excellent.
Yep.
Let's pick another question. Another one. Hopefully Clayton will provide us with a process to get this keyword view set up to extract the not provided data. Don't think we're going to be able to cover that, guys, but as Clayton said, I think your email address has gone into the chat box.
I'll share it with them. Sure, email me.
Yeah. So guys, email Clayton and then he'll get back to you on that one. Let's just see what other questions we've got coming in.
I can bring my Semrush mascot if we want.
And so it's always a good question, and I love to talk about it. What about voice search? How do you guys go about optimizing for voice search?
Yeah, for me,
noted that.
Yeah, for me, it's like I mentioned in the deck. It's really question and answer. I've got Google listening to me. I'm sure they're listening now on my thing. So it's just all about bite-sized sort of how would we talk to each other. Giordano, what do you say?
Yeah, same thing, man. Like I use a tool called Answer the Public quite frequently to get a lot of the what is, how do I, how should I, why should you, et cetera, et cetera. It's simply like Clayton said, just writing more like you talk, structuring those H2s with question formatting, and just analyzing the SERPs and making sure you're meeting you're producing content the way that searchers would expect to see it. So that's my take on that.
Yeah, definitely.
What do you say?
Well, and it's just being aware of, even from my own personal experience of how I'll type something on my laptop, or I've getting more into using voice search myself. I don't have a number of sort of voice listening devices, but just out of kind of laziness, I'll pick my phone up, talk into it, and yeah, it's mainly kind of question based. what I'm asking.
Yeah.
So it's like,
I think it applies more to local searches. You know what I mean? Like if I'm on my laptop typing and I want to know where Shake Shack is, I'm just going to search, Shake Shack Queens, right? Or whatever section of Queens I'm in. If I'm doing voice search, I might say to my device, where's the closest Shake Shack?
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Like when it comes to technical things or marketing or sales or B2B content, like I don't think it changes that much. I'm going to type sales pipeline management if I want to learn about that. And I probably might just say that into my device. But I think voice search is more impacted for local search, in my opinion.
Interesting. Nice.
Yeah.
I wonder where most of the people are from. I saw New York.
That was me.
So another question. Most SEOs have accepted not provided and stopped caring about it a long time ago. Why should we care about this now? I think that was quite clear about. Let's just round that up.
It's valuable data. Knowing exactly which keywords are driving traffic can uncover some stuff that may change your strategy pretty significantly. In the examples that I showed, like 30–40% of the traffic is being driven by like one keyword. So that changes what we might do or not do around that keyword. It might change your budget in SEM.
I think it definitely would.
Yeah, it could do a whole host of things. What do you say, Giotano?
Yeah, I mean, not much more to add than that. I mean, you saw the example, 40%.
I have a question for you. Do you believe that SEM? So first of all, Semrush put out top ranking signals a couple of years ago, and it's a couple of years old. But the point is, at the top of it were things like direct visits to the URL, click-through rates on the SERP's listing results. So my question to you is, if we all agree that direct visits to the URL are a major player in the ranking factor of that particular page, do you believe that AdWords traffic helps your ranking results for organic searches?
That's a bit of a doozy. It's actually rare that I would send AdWords traffic to like an organic page. Like usually I have specific AdWords pages for all those, because the problem is that the organic pages that I have are longer, sometimes more informational, and they're meant to rank. And it's hard to balance the rank versus conversion thing. Whereas with AdWords, it's got to be shorter, to the point. The form's got to be visible above the fold in most cases, right? Like you're optimizing purely for conversion. So I would rarely try to fuel the organic, engagement metrics, if you want to call it that, with AdWords traffic. However, I may try to, boost it in other ways, maybe like an email send, or maybe some paid social traffic that's cheaper. But I guess, it all depends. Tristan, what do you think, buddy?
Sorry, I tuned out because I was getting some more questions for you.
Do you think AdWords traffic helps your SEO?
I'd say there's a possibility. I don't know. I've not looked into the data hugely. I feel like, I don't think it does personally.
Yeah.
But that's my feeling.
I think that's what Google would say.
They would say it depends.
Yeah. Funnily enough, just as we're talking about this, and we were talking about click-through rates earlier, I actually saw on Twitter some people talking about click-through rates. And what are your opinions on whether you feel click-through rate is kind of a ranking factor, help you push yourself up, or it's not? Because there's definitely some people that are adamant it is, and some people are adamant that it isn't. So I'm really interested to know what your feelings are.
I think it is, yeah. And RankBrain, I think RankBrain takes it into consideration. If they didn't, they should, I mean, if people like it and click through, that's a pretty good indicator. I think Google's moving towards trying to figure out where to rank people based more on user behavior. And that's a user behavior thing. What do you guys think?
Yeah, Rand Fishkin just put out 2019 ranking factor study. I linked to it in the chat, based on, I think, over 1,000 responses from SEOs. And I really agree with the outcome of this data, being that the relevance of the overall page content is by far the most highly agreed upon ranking factor of them all, with links being number 2.
Yeah.
So, but you are seeing things like, content's accuracy with accepted facts. I mean, I guess you could call that, the expertise or the engagement. Yeah, the engagement stuff. Yeah, I think most SEOs would agree, to cut this short, that like the engagement does play a huge part of it. Rand talked about like pogo sticking a lot. If they go back and click on another result, it diminishes your value in search, et cetera, et cetera.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think click-through rate's got to have some attribution to your rankings, whether that's on a wider scale or a personalized scale. It's just got to, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Bigger conversation with the time that we've got left.
Yeah.
So I think we might have time for one more question. This was quite a nice one, just kind of an overview, broad one. We've got someone saying, I'm 45 and been doing SEO work for auto dealers since 2006. My son's 19 years old and wants to enter a business, or enters the business. How do you educate your son to bring him up to speed? Basically, I guess it's how are you getting him to be a digital marketer or SEO, or what are your thoughts?
Typically, or just in general?
I think in general. Let's go with that.
I mean, this is really a political question. There's traditional routes. There's go learn it by yourself. It really just, it's sort of a business.
Yeah.
Too. It's just immersion. I don't know, Gaetano. Maybe you have a stronger opinion about this.
Yeah, I've got a pretty strong opinion on this. I think first of all, the person's really got to love SEO. Like they've got to want to learn about it, live it, breathe it, sleep it. This is a complex subject, and if you want to learn this just because, hey, I have a great business idea and I think I can make a lot of money if I can master SEO, yeah, that may be true, but if you're going to be part-time business owner, part-time SEO, it's not necessarily going to work, because you're just going to be thinking too much about how do I ramp up sales and revenue fast.
Yeah.
My suggestion, if you really want to become a practitioner in the space, and be in the top 10% of the field, you should start at an agency. That's how I got my career started. I worked with a guy named Mike King at an agency called iPoRank in New York, and it was tough, man. I got thrown into the deep end. Like right away, I was given really difficult tasks. And I truly believe the way to learn is just get in there, and immerse. You got to get dirty. Yeah. Immerse yourself in SEO and find a really good mentor that's going to show you the ropes. I don't think there's any other way to do it.
Somebody gave you a huge website and said, fix all the canonical tags, man.
Yeah. And I'm like, a canonical what? Yeah, no, my first project was doing keyword research for Trojan condoms.
Oh man,
that's so you can imagine what kind of things I found doing that.
Yeah, and that's seemingly a brilliant way to end this webinar, I feel. So we've come to time now. Sorry if we weren't able to get to your question, guys. I don't know if you two chaps are able just to pop your Twitter links into the chat box, just so everyone's got those. If you need to hit anyone up, do that through that. Just to let everyone know, the second part of this webinar will be happening on the 26th of September. That's 6 o'clock UK time. And I think you said it was 1 o'clock your time, Clayton?
No, it's 10 a.m.
10 a.m.
time. 1 o'clock New York time.
Perfect.
10 a.m. California, 1 o'clock New York. And what was it, UK?
6 o'clock UK.
Okay, there you go.
Right. Beautiful.
We will send emails about it. And don't forget the Global Marketing Day on October 29th and 30th, brought to you by Semrush.
Very
excellent.
Cool.
Well, thank you for joining me today, guys. Thank you for your presentation, Clayton. Castano, lovely to meet you. Everyone watching, don't forget to like, dislike if you don't, subscribe, watch it for more if you're not watching this live. See you soon, guys. Bye.
Thanks,
Bye,
Chris.
everybody.
Have a great day.
You too.